Today we are going to be discussing regulation and deregulation. This is Chapter 7, Section 4. As we are going through this information today, I recommend that you take notes so you'll have it for when the test comes around. Before we get started, we need to define some important terms. The first term we're going to talk about is regulation. Regulation is a set of laws or rules designed to control business behavior. Regulations are usually rules set and passed down by the federal government. Antitrust legislation defines monopolies and gives government the power to control them. A trust is a group of firms combined in order to reduce competition in an industry. So if you ever see two big businesses combining into one in order to reduce the amount of competition between the two of them, and so they both profit, that is called a trust. A merger, on the other hand, is the joining of two firms to form a single firm. So why does this happen? This happens because monopolies and oligopolies are constantly looking to gain more market power. They can do this in ways by forming cartels, merging with one another, and through a process called predatory pricing. And predatory pricing is defined as selling a product below cost to drive competitors out of the market. So for example, if you have 10 different companies that are around for selling cell phones and cell phone services, and the top three decide that they're going to reduce their prices because they have enough clients, and they reduce those prices for a period of time. Some of those smaller businesses may not be able to compete. They may not be able to keep up with those smaller prices because they don't have the clientele and therefore don't have the profit already in hand to be able to make that sacrifice of losing those profits. Antitrust laws led by the Federal Trade Commission and the Department of Justice's Antitrust Division. You should be familiar with the Sherman Antitrust Law of 1890. Hopefully you learned about this back when you were taking U.S. history in 10th grade. But if you don't remember, it outlawed mergers and monopolies that limit trade between states. So remember, the federal government is the one that's in charge of interstate commerce. And so the federal government uses that power of regulating interstate commerce in order to try to bust up these trusts or these monopolies that were occurring across the United States. But unfortunately, companies do find different ways around the government. Some things that they do is they will buy out their competitors. And you can see this especially if we go back to that example of cell phone companies. We've seen a couple of different times in which they maybe bought up a separate company, or if you're talking even about something like Disney and Disney's purchase of other streaming services or other companies that produce shows and movies, such as Fox. So they do find ways around this. Require businesses to sell multiple name brand products, and so they are still like showing that they're not just making one item. Maybe they make clothes as well, and so they wouldn't be a monopoly just for shoes because they have all these other products as well. So how the government intervenes, some things they do are regulating business practices, so the things that the companies themselves can do. And, an example of that is making sure that, the prices can vary. They break up monopolies, block mergers, preserve incentives, so they still want to drive up that profit motive for people to join in a particular market. Deregulation is the removal of some government controls over a market. We really saw an increase in this in our country between the 1970s and 1980s. It is still a hot topic for politics today to deregulate different markets in hopes of continuing to improve the economy over time. The idea here is that it promotes competition, so more people can jump in and not have to worry about regulations being set. And it also decreases those barriers to entry, so making it a little easier for them to join.